Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
At the last election 2 years ago, the Conservatives spent £1.2 million on Facebook campaigns. In the referendum last year, Leave campaigners spent £3.5 million with a technology company called Aggregate IQ. Vote Leave said it allowed them to target swing voters online much more effectively and efficiently. There are rules in place to ensure campaigning is fair and transparent, but those rules, it appears, are struggling to keep up with social media. The Electoral Commission has the job of regulating campaign spending, and their chief executive is Claire Bassett, who joins us in Reading now. Good morning.
Good morning.
How big a problem do you think this lack of transparency online is?
Well, I think the important thing to remember is that campaigning has existed in one form or another for a very long time, and we do have rules that exist in order to make sure that how that happens is transparent, and those rules apply whether it's online or on print media or any other form of media. And we have seen those rules applied, and we've applied those rules. So they include transparency around how money is spent and making sure that that is reported, that's put openly on our website so people can see that, and we carry out investigations into that, as well as lifetime monitoring of that campaigning. I think there are plenty of opportunities to improve it, and indeed, as the use of social media changes, and it changes really fast, we need to keep up with that, and we need to be working with the government to make sure the rules are appropriate. So a good example of that would be to extend the rules around imprints, which exist for print media, to social media, as they were done for the Scottish independence referendum.
Can you explain what you mean?
Yeah, so one of the really important things about transparency is that you know where campaign materials have come from. And if at the moment the rules apply to print media, so if you get a leaflet through your door, that should have an imprint on it, which makes it clear who's produced that leaflet and where it's come from. So you know who is campaigning for your vote. At the moment, those rules don't extend to social media, and we've recommended that that should happen. That recommendation was actually acted on by the Scottish Government following for the Scottish independent referendum. We saw that having an effect there.
OK, but one of the things that has been raised, and not least by an investigation in The Observer, Carol Cadwallader, looking at the amount of money that may have been spent by individuals overseas. I mean, this could be an overseas government, and we know that sort of Russia has form and interfering in elections, on targeting information at individuals where possibly they don't even know that they are being targeted by an outside organisation. They think it's coming from friends.
So I think we have two issues here. The first one is where those campaigns are part of these elections. We have very clear rules. Those include the permissibility of donations and how those are used. So those specifically exclude overseas money, and we monitor that very carefully and report on that.
And do you have the tools to do that online, the necessary tools to do that online?
Well, what we do is we require parties to apply the test to make sure that any money that they're using...
But what if it's not another party? But what if it is an individual or another government who is influencing our election by paying for data analytics companies to target certain individuals and groups of individuals?
So what we would do is we would monitor, we do lifetime monitoring of what's happening on social media. We often get people reporting. I mean, one of the things that has really changed has been the public's awareness of this, and the public being quite keen to know where this campaigning is happening. That information is very useful to us. We can do that. We can issue stop notices if we think that that's an appropriate thing to do. We do have quite clear non-party campaigner rules in this country which allow us to stop that. But you're absolutely right. If something is happening outside of the borders of this country and is not part of any of the regime we're responsible for, it is not something that we can cover within our regulation.
And nothing you can do about it?
Not really, no.
Because the internet, as we all know, is international.
Yes, and this is an issue for much more broadly than just elections. This is something that, we are all struggling with, that it is a worldwide web, and we work very hard to know what is going on. We don't have evidence that there is widespread activity along the lines of you set out, and we haven't seen that. If we did see it, we would immediately act, and we would seek to work with the providers and companies if we could. But as I say, at the moment, we're not seeing any evidence of that, and we would monitor it closely, and we would work with other government agencies as appropriate to make sure that.
Claire Bassett, thank you very much.
Well, weeks of election campaigning left to do on the ground, but could the outcome actually be decided in the digital world?
Sky's technology correspondent Tom Cheshire's been looking at the battle being fought online and a warning his report does feature flashing images.
If you want to understand this general election, you need to ignore the battle buses and rallies and look at the digital picture. It's the invisible election for a reason. Political parties don't want you to see everything they're doing. Facebook is the front line of this general election. More than 35 million of us use it in the UK. £1.2 million was spent on social media in the 2015 general election, and more than 99% of that was on Facebook. So here's how the targeting actually works. It starts quite basic. You've got your age and your gender, and then you've got location as well. This is the whole of the UK, but we can drill down. Here's Bristol. Then we go down to the postcode to a kilometre, so that only people within this radius will actually see your message. But then there's interest. This is what Facebook is best at. It's what it knows about you. And it knows a lot of detail, a lot of random detail. Here's cake. With cake, you've got cake, pancake, cheesecake, chocolate cake, birthday cake. All of those can be used to personalise a message. That might sound fairly innocuous, but it can be a lot more personal. You could target newlyweds or people expecting a baby. And from there, parties will pitch policies that appeal to that group, from housing to childcare. So we've come up with 4 very different campaigns for 4 very different groups of people with 4 very different non-political messages. And the point is that our retired factory worker in Sutherland won't see the same message as a university student in Bristol.
I think what people aren't seeing in the political space is the extent to which those messages are hyper-targeted, hyper-local, and if you live in a major city, you're not going to see the way they're targeting people in rural areas. If you live in England, you're not going to see the way they're targeting people in Scotland.
Then there are the other digital dark arts. First is retargeting. You might have spotted this in the real world when adverts seem to follow you around the internet. You could do this to target supporters, or you could use it to spread attack adverts among your opponents. Then there's rank slurs, creating damaging websites designed to appear in Google search rankings for your opponents. And finally, impersonation. Pretending to be a candidate's staffer or aide on Twitter, then expressing plausible but damaging opinions.
I think that we do have to realise that it's effective. Companies wouldn't be spending their money advertising here if it didn't change people's mind about what product to buy. I'm absolutely certain that it's capable of changing people's mind at the margin about who to vote for. I think that there are threats to the democratic process.
Throughout this campaign, we'll be keeping track of these digital dirty tricks, but we need your help. If you see targeted political adverts or our own campaign, let us know. Together, we can make the invisible visible. Tom Cheshire, Sky News.
Well, as Tom was saying there, we'd like your help. You can help us with our Invisible Election campaign. If you see examples of targeted advertisements, send a screen grab to invisibleelection@sky.uk or tweet us using the hashtag #InvisibleElection. We'll use them to reveal how the parties are fighting this election in a way they haven't fought them before.
Well, while there's still room in politics for old-fashioned door-knocking and leaflets, the parties are increasingly fighting a sophisticated cyber campaign, which targets people via social media. The fact this kind of messaging is so easily focused at specific groups of voters means it can be difficult to see exactly what the parties are sending and to whom. Well, we're keen to get to the bottom of this, so we've teamed up with our colleagues from BBC Trending, and we need your help. Mukul Devonchand is the editor of BBC Trending and joins me now. So what's going on?
Yeah, so as you say, it's about what we know and what we don't know. So what we know is that at least £1 million will be spent on Facebook advertising during the election. It was 1.3 million in 2015. And we know that it's a really micro-targeted kind of advertising that can look at what your likes and dislikes are, who your friends are, where you are, your age, your gender, and target messages towards you, and the parties will be doing that. This was thought to be a game changer in the referendum. You know, millions, one estimate was up to 1 billion messages sent by the parties. But what we don't know is what all those messages say, because some of them are not publicly visible, apart from if you get them.
So what do you want people to do about it?
So Newsnight and Trending are going to be teaming up to try and analyse what you send us. So what we want you to do is take a snap of a message that you get in your timeline that feels political. Send it to us, send us a bit of information about yourself, if you don't mind, your age, location, etc. How to send it is coming up on the screen. And then we will try and analyse that and build up a national picture of the types of messaging that the parties are using. And we'll come back to the show and on the BBC Trending blog to report that.
Thank you very much indeed.